It shouldn't be a surprise that the Dubai-based Emirates wasn't always an airline with only two types of aircraft. While it's never been ultra-diverse, you might be surprised to discover some of the types it once operated. In 1985, Emirates operated its flights from Dubai to Karachi, Pakistan and Mumbai, India, using a Boeing 737 as well as an Airbus A300. These jets were actually wet leased from Pakistan International Airlines, or PIA. Additionally, Emirates had two Boeing 727-200s which came from the Dubai royal family. In July of 1987, Emirates took delivery of its first owned aircraft, an Airbus A310. The airline would eventually take on a total of 14 A310s and 7 A300s. According to airfleets.net, the lone 737 went back to PIA in 1987, while the 727s would leave the airline in the mid-1990s. These would be the only narrow-body aircraft that Emirates would operate as part of its mainline fleet. In 1992, Emirates placed an order for 7 Boeing 777s with 7 options. The earliest 777s would join the fleet around 1997, and deliveries would continue through the following decade. They would be a mix of -200s, -300s, and -300ERs. Just a few years later, in 1999, the airline would take delivery of its first A330-200. It would take 29 of these over the years, with all of them leaving the fleet around 2015. Emirates would go on to order many more 777s as the type would go on to become a core part of the fleet. In 2005, the airline made history with an order for 42 Boeing 777s, the largest ever 777 order at the time. Today, Emirates is the world's biggest operator of 777 aircraft, flying 142 of the type, which mainly consists of -300ERs, but also includes some -200LRs. Emirates received its first A340-500 in 2003. This was to be the first of 10 to fly for the airline. It also leased 8 A340-300s. Its last A340 was finally retired in 2016, taking its last flight from Kabul to Dubai. Of course, Emirates' most substantial quad-jet investment would be in the Airbus A380. In 2000, the airline became the first to sign up for the Super Jumbo, ordering 7 with options for 5 more at the Farnborough Air Show. The earliest of the A380s were delivered in 2008, and Emirates has been steadily taking delivery of the jet ever since. It now has a total of 115, with 8 more on the way. However, rumours have been circulating that some of these may be cancelled. Emirates is widely considered responsible for keeping the less-than-popular programme alive. In fact, its decision to cancel orders in 2019 led to Airbus shutting down A380 production. This will take place once the final aircraft are delivered in the next year. We should note that Emirates' cargo wing, Sky Cargo, does operate the 747. However, the Queen of the Skies has never been part of its mainline passenger fleet. Perhaps realising the lack of flexibility of its two-type fleet strategy, Emirates is looking to have a more varied fleet in the future. In the next decade, it seems like the carrier will be operating as many as 5 different types at the same time. Boeing 787, Boeing 777, both old and new variants, Airbus A330neo, Airbus A350, and Airbus A380. In 2013, Emirates announced a landmark order for 150 Boeing 777X aircraft with additional 50 purchase rights. However, 6 years later, it would reduce its order for the delayed jet by 24 planes to 126, swapping them for 30 787 Dreamliners. Emirates' decision to cut A380 orders in 2019 wasn't a cancellation as much as it was a swap. In fact, the aircraft swap was comprised of 40 A330-900s and 30 A350-900 aircraft. The airline has signed a firm order for 50 A350s, but the A330-900s have yet to be confirmed. On the Boeing side, Emirates was supposed to start taking delivery of its massive 777X order in 2020. However, program delays mean that the carrier won't get its first 777X until 2022. Finally, if we want to be thorough, we have to mention the single Airbus A319. Launched in 2013, Emirates makes the aircraft available for VIPs, organisations and other uses for high-wealth individuals who want the full Emirates experience without actually flying commercial. Were you surprised by any of the fleet history presented in this video? Let us know in the comments. Did you know that we publish over 175 stories every single week on simpleflying.com? Be sure to check the link in the description for more great stories just like this. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe before you go.